If you're writing a proposal, you want to really follow a structured method. If you want your proposal to actually gain credibility, to actually win approval from key stakeholders, here are the important facts I want you to really pay attention to. One thing for sure, when you think about a project proposal, you have to understand that this is actually a written document that actually encapsulates everything that stakeholders should know about your projects. So you want to have things like timeline, budget, objectives, and goals, okay? And the cool thing is that your project proposal actually, if you have the right template, you actually are able to summarize your project details and sell your idea so stakeholders will buy into the initiative. That's what you want. You want to have this buy in from the get go. So if you think about a project proposal, I want you to think about a structured form, a structured document that actually outlines everything stakeholders should know about your project. So you through the project proposal, you can secure external funding. So you can actually reach out to investors either within the state, within your state, or outside your state, or even internationally. You can reach out to VC folks, for instance. You can also, through your project proposal, you can allocate company resources to your project. In other words, you are able to allocate internal resources, not only monetary, but also human, but also logistical. You're able to gain stakeholder buy-in with the right proposal. You are able to gain stakeholder buy-in from the get-go, and you're also able to build momentum and excitement. See, the whole thing is if you have stakeholders being very, let's say, very happy about your project, you are able to get things done real fast. Okay, you're also able to get their approval, but also their buy-in. So it's important to understand that you have project proposals, but sometimes you might have also people talk about project charters or business cases. So project proposals and project charters serve different purposes in the project creation process. So it's really important to understand the difference between the two. So while a project proposal takes place in the initiation phase of the project charter takes place in the planning phase. Okay, so this is really important to understand initiation versus planning. So in terms of types of project proposals, you have solicited, unsolicited, informal, renewal, continuation, supplemental, depending on the specific audience you are talking to. So let me talk to you about the methodology here. If you want to write a proposal in six easy steps, you have to understand that the steps actually that are going to constitute the foundation of your project, of your proposal. Those six steps will depend on your audience, but also on the niche that you're in. Whether you have a small, quote unquote, small project versus a comprehensive project, those steps will really be important for you to really know right off the bat. The first thing you want to do, if you want to gain a buy-in real fast, is to write an executive summary. So the summary should have the problem you are trying to solve through your project, the solution your project provides for that problem, and the impact your project will have not only for the company, but also for the overall society. Okay, if your project has, let's say, if your proposal has an external impact, or at least you want it to have an external impact. Okay, you should only address the this items briefly in your executive summary because you will discuss these topics in more detail later in your proposal. So, step number one in your proposal, you want to write an executive summary. Next, you want to explain actually the project background. See, the whole thing is that if your proposal is going to address a problem, you have to really contextualize the problem, right? Is the problem happening at the state level? Is the problem happening at the industry level? Is the problem happening globally? Like, what are the contours of your problem? Okay, explain the project background. So, what is the problem your proposal addresses? What is already known about this this issue, okay, and who has addressed this issue before. In other words, you're not the first one. You're not the first one to address the problem. So what is making your solution better than the others? Okay, and one important thing I want you to really emphasize here is that your proposal has to be very clear from the get go, not only for readers but also for your core audience. So if you are trying to write a proposal, you want to really present a solution. A solution has to be it has to be broad, it has to be thorough, it has to be complete. Okay, it's just one of those things where if you are writing a proposal, of course, a proposal is nothing if you have no solution. Your proposal is not going anywhere, especially if your proposal wants to go in higher places. In other words, if you want to reach the decision makers in your company, in your state, at the federal level, or let's say in your industry, let's say regulators, you have to actually present a solution. Because the thing is that when you write a proposal, you will present a problem, right? In the background section. So after presenting a problem, you have to really present a solution. Because otherwise, why would you waste readers' time by just having just talking about problems without solution? So you want to really in the solution section, you want to outline your proposal approach in greater detail. Okay, here you are going to provide more granularity. You are able to gain, let's say, buy-in from several stakeholders. And by the way, when you think about writing a proposal, you can actually win buy-in from internal audiences. Let's say your team members, people in the hierarchy, or external audiences. Okay, so if you want to present a solution, you want to really talk about your vision statement for the proposal, your the schedule that you are really you want to put in place in your proposal. So the schedule here has to include important milestones, also your team roles and responsibilities, because who is going to carry out the proposal? And you have to also understand that the deliverables, your proposals is actually putting forward. Especially, you want to make sure that you are actually talking to the right audience, because the solution again that you are really putting forward, that solution has to be aligned with the needs of your audience. If you're talking, for instance, to a senior management needs are different from let's say from an external audience, investors, okay, clients, suppliers, vendors, and so on and so forth. So it's one of those things where you have to really be clear right off the bat as to what kind of audience you are going after. So the thing is, if you want to write a proposal, you have to understand that proposals are different depending on the industry you're in, but also depending on the regulatory landscape you have to really navigate your proposal through. Okay, some industries, for instance, healthcare, are heavily regulated than others, right? So really, you have to really make sure that your proposal has the right deliverables and goals that really fit in what the industry is expecting, not just what your audience is expecting, but also what your industry is expecting from the proposal. If you want your proposal to go far, you have to understand that not only should you have a start date and an end date that makes sense to the reader, that makes sense to your audience, okay, and you also want to have so the project timeline, because end date and start date, this should be part of your project timeline. Now, the project timeline is important. Why? It's important for you to gain funding if you need funding for your proposal, to actually gain buy-in, to actually gain credibility, but also to gain supporters. Not just buy-in, but supporters. See, buy-in means that people are outside. They are really approving of your proposal. Supporters mean you have folks who are proactively making sure that you can implement your proposal real fast. Okay, so really, when I speak about defining your deliverables and goals, you want to talk about the end product or final objectives of your proposal. You want to have a timeline for when deliverables will be ready, right? That way, you are really building credibility. And you also want to have smart goals that align with the deliverables you are producing actually in your proposal. That way, you can actually link the different parts of your proposal to actually what you can accomplish. Actually, and you want to do this real fast right off the bat. Okay, so it's one things I want you really understand is that in your proposal, you are talking to different levels of audiences, and those audiences have different needs depending on where they're at, like geographically, or where they're at in terms of the decision making process. Okay, if you are speaking to folks in the senior management circles, their decision making needs are not the same as, let's say, outside investors, for instance. So be mindful of that. So if you want to write a proposal, you have to understand that you gotta really list what resources you need. So if you were to really compare and contrast this to a pitch deck, for instance, this is what startup founders call the ask. Okay, so what resources do you need in your proposal? So maybe you want to really talk about your proposal budget. You want to really make sure that you are as granular as possible in terms of costs, and also you got to have something called a resource allocation plan. So when I speak about the proposal budget, this actually involves everything from the supplies you will need to create a product to add pricing and team salaries. You should really include any budget items you need to deliver the project, like the proposal here. And again, when I speak about the team salaries, you want to be as lengthy as possible. You can have a budget for, let's say, 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years, because remember, your proposal is going to take some time to generate revenue. In the meantime, you need funding to actually keep the project going, right? So you want to really make sure your budget covers a long enough period. When I speak about a breakdown of cost, you want to include research on why you need specific resources for your project. So you want to really sort of convince all stakeholders that this is the right proposal for them to support. Stakeholders can understand what their buy-in is being used for, so that you can also mitigate unexpected costs. Okay, so that's really important. And the last thing I want you to really pay attention to here is that you want to include an overview of your resource allocation plan, outlining where you plan to use the specific resources you need. Let me give you an example. If you determine that you need $50,000 to complete the proposal, do you plan to allocate this money to salaries, technology, materials, etc.? Okay. And finally, you want to end your proposal with your conclusion. You want to state your conclusion. In other words, this must have a prospective outlook. Okay, so like the executive summary, you want to really make sure that you're given the proper contact, the proper, let's say, a context around your proposal, so that the decision makers can make a decision real fast. They can make the right decision regarding your proposal. Again, it doesn't matter if you are in the private sector or public sector. Okay, that's important. Let me give you a few top hacks here. If you want to really deliver a winning proposal, you have to first understand your audience. Audience is really important, okay? Because you're writing for a specific audience, you're writing for a specific layer of audiences. Because some audiences are not just monolithic, you have different layers in your audience, okay? So as you write your proposal, keep your audience in mind at all times. You want to pay attention to what matters to them. You want to pay attention to what their expectations are. So, in terms of audience, I'm speaking here about the stakeholders, okay? Remember that the goal of the proposal is to win over your audience. That's the most important thing. You're not really trying to present your details, your project details. You're not trying to really make your team look good, even though Looking good is also part of the process, but it's all about what's in it for me. Like your decision makers, your stakeholders will be thinking, what's in it for me? Okay, so think about things from their point of view. Let me give you an example. If you are creating a new editing tool for a children's publishing house, can you determine whether your stakeholders are parents and appeal to their emotional side when persuading them to buy into your products? So that's the first thing. The first thing is you need to know your audience big time. Secondly, you want to be persuasive. You got to convince your audience. Otherwise, you're not going anywhere with your proposal, right? So be persuasive. So you're hoping your audience will read your proposal, right? And do something for you in return, like maybe fund your proposal or support it, or maybe let spread the word around it. So you have to convince them that this is the right proposal for them and for society in general. So if your reader is not intrigued by your projects, he or she won't feel inclined to help you. So if you describe your editing tool but don't mention the many features it will offer, how it will benefit clients, and its positive impact in the industry, your audience will wonder, why should I really care about this project? Remember, your audience is not reading your only proposal. They're reading hundreds, tens, if not hundreds, of proposals every single year. So if you want your proposal to stand out, you have to really link it to something greater than your own context. You can link it to society, you can link it to the industry, you can link it to let's say your target audience's pain points, so that you can really win approval real fast. If you want to write a proposal and really make sure you can go somewhere with your proposal, it's important to really go back to basics. And by going back to basics, what I mean here is that you want to be as brief as possible. You want to use simple words. You want to keep it simple, okay? Don't try to really complicate things. Don't try to really waste people times by really having convoluted processes. No, keep it simple. While you should go into detail on your problem, approach, and solution, you shouldn't make your proposal overly complex. Your audience is already busy with thousands of things every single day. Make it easy. Make it easy for them. So what I mean here is that you can discuss your plan for your proposed editing tool. Just going back to my hypothetical example, you can really create the plan without discussing what codes the engineers will use to make each feature work. Okay, you don't want to go into that level of detail anyway. And finally, if you want to write a proposal, you want to do your research. Okay, so a successful proposal includes thorough research. So what you want to do is you want to be prepared to back up your problem and solution with reputable sources, because otherwise, how can you substantiate your claims, right? You want to have case studies, you want to have statistics, you want to have also charts. The bottom line is what? The bottom line is that your audience, you do not want to leave them with questions. You want to make sure they understand that you have done your research and that you have the solutions around that problem. So when writing your proposal, put yourself in the reader's shoes and ask, why is this a problem? How is this a solution to the problem? Remember, your solution is one among many solutions. It's not the solution, it's one of solutions, one solution. Has anyone addressed your problem before? In other words, since you're not the first one to address this, maybe something has been done in the past around this problem. And what are the costs? Okay. So your proposal supposedly has cost, and your audience wants to really have a clear idea about what the monetary aspect it really is. So if you can answer these questions, then you've likely done enough research to support your proposed initiative. Okay, and so you can also use tools, software, for instance, to make sure that you are streamlining the whole process, especially if you are addressing multiple problems at the same time. If you're talking to different audiences, you're talking to different layers of society, then software can really help you streamline your approach real fast. So, in conclusion, to this conversation, I spoke to you about how to write a proposal real fast. I give you the facts, the methodology, the top hacks you need to pay attention to, and now the conclusion. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.